Okay guys, so today's video is the end of the year book tag. This is a nice short little tag that I thought would be fun to do as we are nearing the end of 2020. Oh my god. This tag was created, I believe, by Ariel Bissett. I will link her channel in the description below, and if I can find it I will put her original tag in the description below as well. There are, I think, about 6 questions, so let's just get going, shall we? Question number 1. Are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? Yes, I have one book that I started this year that I need to finish, and I've mentioned this in a number of vlogs and wrap-ups, and I still don't seem to have been able to finish it, and that is Achieving Social Justice by Larissa Behrendt. So this is a non-fiction book that looks at Indigenous Australia and looks at the policies that have been in place and continue to be in place that are oppressive towards Indigenous Australians, and different ways that we can alter that and change that so that there is more social justice for Indigenous Australians. I've read now just over half the book. Every time I pick it up I get a lot out of it, but even though it's a very short book, it's very dense. There's a lot in here. It reads quite like a textbook, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that, but it does mean that it's something that I don't reach for very often and will read a huge amount of. But as you can see from all of the tabs, I am getting a lot out of it. So I definitely need to finish that by the end of this year. The next question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? Now, as you guys know, I live in Australia and I get unreasonably annoyed about these sorts of questions because the assumption seems to be that if you read books, you obviously must live in the Northern Hemisphere, and therefore obviously you're going into autumn and into winter at the end of the year, which we are not. We are in spring currently, we're going into summer, so like I said, I get unreasonably annoyed. I know that it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the world right now and everything that's going on in 2020. I mean in general, but particularly this year. Really the last thing I should be worrying about is that, but yeah. I do find myself getting a little bit frustrated because half the world... Okay, so realistically it's not half the world's population, it's not even half the world's landmass, but from a globe point of view, half of the globe is in a different we're opposite to you guys. We have spring when you have autumn, we have summer when you have winter, etc. So anyway, so my answer to this question is actually going to be, I'm going to flip it. It's spring right now. Normally I would say, no, I don't have anything like that because I don't read seasonally. I think the reason I don't read seasonally is mostly because the book world seems to assume that we're all living where it's cold at this time of year, and therefore nothing is really marketed to my experience of seasons, so I've never really thought about it in terms of reading. But I am actually going to show you a book that I would like to read by the end of the year, and it will be on a future TBR, which you'll see later, and that is The Bodysurfers by Drewe. So this is a book set in Australia during summer, and I don't actually know whether it was Christmas specifically, but it's certainly set across the time when we have Christmas, and it just looks really interesting. Don't really know much about it, but it sounds great. So I would like to read that book before the end of the year, and it still works for this one because it is not autumn for me or winter, it is spring going into summer. So that's my rather long-winded answer to that question. Question number 3, is there a new release that you are still waiting for? I'm kind of a backlist kind of girl. I really don't keep track of new releases, and I keep thinking to myself I really would like to, but I just don't. And I'm not currently on NetGalley or getting any ARCs, and the main reason for that is because I just don't want to stress myself out. I don't want to accept books that I feel like I would have to read and then properly review by a specific time, because I just feel like that would cause me unnecessary stress. So I'm not doing that at the moment. Yeah, so I don't get to know about upcoming releases. Particularly, I said at the beginning of this year that I was going to keep track of Book of the Month. Even though we don't get Book of the Month in Australia, it would be a good way to keep track of new releases coming out, but I haven't been doing that. So really my only way of finding out is when you guys talk about new releases, and yeah, it just still doesn't seem to sink in. So no is the answer. Very, very long-winded today, I apologise. Okay, next question. What are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? And I do have 3 books that I would like to read before the end of the year. The first one is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, which is the first in the series of the same name. I read The Priory of the Orange Tree earlier this year, as I'm sure you know. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this specific book in a couple of videos recently. I loved The Priory of the Orange Tree. It was my first Samantha Shannon book and I thought it was just amazing. As soon as I saw this in a secondhand bookstore, I thought, right, got to get it, got to read some more Samantha Shannon. Just haven't quite got there yet. So I really only own this for a couple of months, which isn't too bad, but I just haven't got to it yet and I really, really want to before the end of the year. So that's one. The next one, I actually have a plan for reading, so I'm not sure if I will get to it before the end of the year, but it will definitely be read before the end of the summer holidays, which ends at the very end of January. And that is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. So I've only read 2 Brandon Sanderson books, which for a fantasy lover is pretty terrible, really. So I definitely want to read more Brandon Sanderson. I've never read any of his fantasy. I've only read his 2 young adult sci-fi books, and I've heard some amazing things from all of you people and also from non-booktube people, so I definitely really want to read this book. Like I said, I do have a plan for reading it. It's quite chunky, as I'm sure you all are aware. Over 1,000 pages, I think. So this book actually says that it is only, that seems wrong, that it's 500 and something pages, 600 pages. That seems wrong. I've heard people say it's much thicker, so I don't know why. Maybe this is a mass market paperback. It doesn't look super small. Anyway, it's still a pretty chunky book, and I mean, it's not crazy little, but the margins and the font is reasonably small. So anyway, the point that I am getting at is that it's quite a chunky book, and I think that I probably would be better off waiting until the school holidays. School holidays start this year, I think, on like the 19th of December or something like that. So I'll probably be able to start it when the school holidays start. Whether or not I'll be able to then finish it before the 1st of January, I don't know, but I certainly would like to try. But anyway, definitely will at least start it before the end of this year. And finally, I have An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. So I bought this not super long ago, I think maybe like 4 or 5 months ago, and I've heard quite a few different people say how great it is. I love Hank Green. I love his various different YouTube projects that he does, and yeah, I just think that he's great and funny, and I've heard great things. I really like John Green, Hank's brother, as an author, and I just think that he'll be an awesome author. So really want to read this book. Haven't quite got there yet, but definitely is on my list. I'd like to read before the end of the year as well. Next question, is there a book that you think could still shock you and become your favourite of the year, or one of your favourites of the year? And I actually think that this one could very easily become one of my favourites of the year, although it wouldn't shock me very much because I loved The Priory of the Orange Tree, as I keep saying, so much that I really wouldn't be at all surprised if this one becomes a favourite as well. And lastly, have you started making reading plans for 2021? Yes and no. So the only reading plans specifically that I have is that I really want to read The Way of Kings and the rest of the books in that, the Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson. So like I said, I'll be starting Way of Kings in summer. We'll see where we go from there. I'm anticipating really liking them, so I imagine I'll be reading them next year. So that's the really only specific reading plan that I have for next year. Depending on whether I like The Bone Season, I'd like to read more of that series as well, so I guess that's a reading plan as well, although it's not quite as thought out as the Stormlight Archives. I'd like to continue doing buddy reads. I'm really enjoying doing buddy reads at the moment. I'm buddy reading with 3 people. Connor from Connor's Library Corner, whose channel I will link below. Hayley from Hayley Reads, who I don't actually think is really doing any YouTube videos at the moment, but I'll link her channel in the description below. She might come back. And my friend Alison, who is a non-booktuber but a very big reader, who is actually one of the people who has been talking up Brandon Sanderson a lot, so I'd really like to continue reading with her. Yeah, I really enjoy buddy reading. I think my friends Max and Rachel and I had plans, but whether we actually get there is a different question because we never seem to quite manage to coordinate. Yeah, so if there's anyone who likes buddy reading, who has space for more buddy reads, then please comment below and let me know. I enjoy buddy reading, so that'll be really fun. Yeah, so that's reading plans. In terms of booktube plans, which I realised the question didn't ask, but I kind of feel like it's one and the same in a way. The only real plans that I have there is that I will definitely continue with my TBR game, which I will tell you what it's called the next time I film it, so keep an eye out for the December TBR game. Yeah, so I'll continue with that. And I don't know that I have any really specific booktube plans. I'll see how I go. But yeah, I don't have anything in particular. Like this year I was going to try and read one LGBTQA+ book a month, one Aboriginal Australian author a month. I don't really have anything specific like that at the moment, but it is only the beginning of November, so I could very easily invent some for myself for next year between now and then. So anyway, yeah, so that is the end of the tag. I apologise, I did not expect to be quite this long-winded in this tag, but hopefully you enjoyed it anyway. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you agreed with any of my answers to these questions, if you have other answers to the questions yourself, please comment below and let me know. If you got to the end of this video and you would like to leave a comment but you don't know what, please feel free to leave any emoji that you would like. I always love to get comments, emojis included, so that'd be awesome. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.